The unique thing about education and our jobs specifically is that we invest so much of ourselves into bettering our students and into the success of our schools. That in turn makes it really difficult to shut off. So how can you speak to that when it comes to our teachers in the district?
How we shut off work and live our lives?
Just how we manage to navigate when we're on and when we're pouring into our students and pouring into our work, and when we are focusing on our families and our life outside of work.
Well, after 36 years, I'm not sure I have any answers, but I can attest to the fact that there's many teachers that carry their bags home, leave them in the car, and worry about it all day, or all weekend. So what I've started doing is carrying a smaller bag. I can carry it, true, whatever fits in the bag, I can do. Family is important, and as a teacher, you don't want to lose those priorities in your life. So I raised 3 kids. I always made time for my family, but the smaller bag really helped.
Good tip. I didn't try that, and people who know me well would say I would be the last person to give advice about this topic, because I think teachers as a profession are so passionate about what they do that it is very hard to turn that on and turn that off and walk out the door, because you're never free from that responsibility. But we all have lives. And we all love our work, but I think if I could give a tip, it is that we remember that it is work and that we have a responsibility to our family as well. And making time for yourself and your family, sometimes they say as an administrator, I'd have to schedule that, actually put it on a calendar to do that. I find myself having to do that now, because we all want what's right for everyone, but we have to practice that. You know, but we decide. So like Stephen Covey says, we carry our own weather, we decide what choices we make, and we have to live with those choices. And so keeping that positive outlook is what got me through.
Absolutely, and I think Pam said it best, that you have to not only make time for your family, but you have to especially to make time for yourself. And so, and if you don't do that, if you don't take care of yourself, you're not going to be as effective as you could be possibly in the classroom. I think it's hard too when you're raising a family and like you said, juggling all of those balls. But I think it's interesting too, because technology now offers the availability to check our email anytime we want. And so you have to be really careful to not get caught up in that, you know, because you want to be responding to your parents. You want to make sure that your kids are doing the right homework, and it takes everything I have to put that phone away and not look at it once I get home. And so you really have to put that time out for you and say, I'm home now. You know, if you are going to bring homework, this is the time allotment I'm going to work on it, and then not look at it. Because like you said, even when you bring that smaller bag home, there are always ways to find other things to do. You know, you can always research, there's always that. So you really have to make a conscious effort of saying, this time's for me, this time's for my family, and make that a priority.
And I think it's important for everybody to realize that I think everyone struggles with this. Whether you're a teacher, or you're a CEO, or you're a pediatrician, whatever it may be, I think we all struggle with that, because especially if you're excellence driven and you care a lot and deeply for the people that you're affecting, to which I feel like we all do. And you know, every child has its own story, and those stories, you know, make up, they're in my mind and my heart, and you want to see how you can affect them. But I do think it's important that if you are excellent driven, that you are in every aspect of your life. And when you go home, it has to become about your family, and it has to become about you being a father or a mother, or a sister or a brother, or a son or daughter. And then how best can you do that at that time, because that's going to allow you to be free when you're at work, or when you're doing that. And certainly there's times, if you're a performing arts teacher, You spend as much time after school as you do during school. You know, and for us and my family, it's balancing that schedule and setting. For my own children, we always have, if we go through 3 weeks at a time where we'll go 6 days a week, you know, that we have a target point where either we're going to go to Disney that day, or we're going to go to a movie this day, or we're going to go to the park. But, you know, we cross that off, so we make that event a big deal with our children, so they know that this is the most important thing to us, to get us to this day. But we want to make sure that we get there the right way, and we continue to affect people, and we don't miss a day, and we show them that. And sometimes it's sharing that thing in your mind with them, and asking their opinion of, you know, I'm struggling with this. To my wife is a great sounding board and a far better educator than I am. And oftentimes I can ask her and she'll offer me a perspective, and we can share that with our 16 and our 10-year-old, you know, in their terms, so they feel like they're helping us with that particular situation. Or you know, we'd like you to come in and give this person a hug, you know, whatever it may be, you know, with our 10-year-old, because within our program, you know, it's a big family, so we spend our weekends with them, sometimes more than their parents spend with them. So, you know, if somebody's struggling, we try to make that a family affair. But I definitely think it's important that we all realize as professionals that in whatever and wherever we are, we have to be our best at it, and you can't be absent at home.
Add on too is that we kind of described that we have support systems with our families, and thank goodness that we do. But I think that's also true at work, is seeking out those support systems that keep you uplifted as well, and share your common core values and that quest for being the best at what we do. And those support systems help us come to work every day and help us be the best mother, father, or whatever role that is that we know that we are all striving for the same thing.
I will tell you, within my department, and I've said this, I mean, we are a very high functioning math department, and we're all too many chiefs, not enough Indians. And so we all had to kind of sit back and say, all right, I'm creating these really good lessons, but let me pass them over to you, and you take a look and see what you can make better. And now, after so many years, the fabulous thing is that I can depend, and one of my colleagues can say, oh, I did this lesson on ratios, and I don't even have to think. I don't have to go back, create my own lesson. Now I trust, and that's probably the hardest thing to break through, is that you do have to say, okay, let's work together as a team, let's divide and conquer, so that you're not spending all that time working in isolation. So I will tell you, I'm in love with the Smart Notebook, and anybody who knows me knows that I do the STIP training during the summer and all the technology. And so I just think it engages your kids, it allows them to definitely make more meaning to the concepts and to the curriculum. It's them learning, not you instructing. And so it's definitely, for me, it's much more empowering to use that form, that vehicle, to get a curriculum that's not always easy. I love math to death, but it's not everybody's favorite, and I forget that sometimes. And so not everybody's as passionate about that as I am. And so by engaging your students, they definitely become more passionate about it.
Any final thoughts before we close out our section?
I think just what I think we've all highlighted is we're all struggling with different things. It doesn't, whether you're a first-year teacher or 36 years into it, I think we all feel like I'm my 22nd year, and I feel like I'm just getting going. You know, you're just trying to figure it out. And I think it's important that everybody knows that. But I think if you're a driven person, and you want to be great at what you're doing, you'll go through difficult times because you're putting that pressure on yourself. But that's not a negative pressure, because on the outside of that, the harder you work, you may be changing somebody's life forever. And I think when the times get difficult and it's tough, that's where your mindset has to be. You know, why am I doing? Go back to the why you're doing what you're doing. And that's really, I think, for all of us to impact young people's lives, so that they can live a better life, or help them through whatever challenge they're getting through, because their potential is, in my opinion, is limitless. I mean, they can do anything, if we empower them to do it. And sometimes we're the spark, that's going to ignite that passion for that for them. So I think that part of it, when you're going through difficult times, go back and ask yourself, why am I doing this? And do I have balance? And because whether I'm one-sided or the other, it never works out. Just to create that balance for each of us, I think will help us be successful.
Yes, very
I concur.
And I think that compelling why is so important for teachers to plant right here all the time, because it's a step we often miss, is that adults get it, but it has to be relevant for kids, and they have to own that in the process, but it also relates to us as adults. We have to know, we're living in a time of great change nationally. This isn't just about in the state of Florida or just about in Pinellas County. The requirements of these standards that our students are engaging and interacting with require them to do things that they've not had to do before. And we as adults have to release that responsibility, but we have to understand the compelling why as well. So I think the new mantra for us is, how do we know? How to ask ourselves continuously as educators, regardless of the age level you work with or the job, your coworkers, how do we know? That takes us right back to that accountability piece, because we want everybody walking not on the same path, because we all took different paths to get where we're going, but our outcome is, we want the same outcome for kids, and we are dedicated to that.
I think it's really healthy to learn that we have 5 district teachers of the year sitting in this room, and we're all professing that this is a struggle.
And we're not perfect.
This is difficult to try and strive for a work-life balance. And I think the central message is that remember your why, and to really zone in on your passion, and to master a few things done really, really well. Because I think there is a lot of danger in taking a snapshot of Kevin, you, and just your moment of glory, and Kim, just to see what you're capable of, and likewise, and to mesh that together into this one vision, and then to try and continually strive for that, I think is very unhealthy. I think that we really need to self-reflect and set healthy expectations for ourselves as teachers. And then we need to really dig our heels in, let the why of teaching drive us, and to pursue that with passion. So, well, stay tuned. We'll be right back with the why of teaching.
I demonstrate innovation within my classroom by allowing kids to explore, to really get them using their own brain and me just guiding the way. I'm hoping that others see that my students are becoming independent learners, and with me bringing different innovative strategies into my classroom, I'm really pushing students forward. My choice, my Pinellas County Schools.
Engagement is important in our schools, in my opinion, for so many different reasons. Number one, if every child is engaged, they're going to be learning in some manner. Number two, if every child is engaged, they're going to feel valued in some way. If students are engaged, they're starting to build an independence with themselves and for themselves, and they're building a confidence in themselves. If students are engaged, they're building collaboration and a culture in the classroom. Engagement to me is a beginning for so many possible ends for those students that are so important, not only to student achievement, but to who they are and who they develop into being. My choice, my Pinellas County Schools.